Hey, this is Dean and Natalie from the Game Den, the Film Den, and the Horrorcast. Please check out those shows. But right now, you are listening to Nerd of the Third Power.
Hello everybody and welcome to Nerd of the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host and master of ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo. With me as always in this epic quest of awesomeness is our resident anime goddess, the Cat. Cat, how you doing?
I am totally here. And some days that's all you can ask for. In fact, most days that's about where I'm at.
And in our other co-pilot's chair we have Skyblaze. Skyblaze, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I might have a possible interview lined up for a local radio station, so that'll be nice.
Nice!
Sweet.
As in you, as in I'm going to go work for them.
Oh, okay. I thought this is like they were actually like having you on the air to
No, they've there's a local radio station called Sheffield Live, and they have a segment which is about video games.
Uh-huh.
And they're looking for new people. And I was like, me, pick me, teacher, I'm ever so smart.
One of those moments where just like a beam of light shines on you and you say in that deep movie trailer voice, "My time has come." And John, you're here for a second week in a row, so how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm trying to beat my all-time record of most consecutive appearances, which is
What,
three?
3? Yes.
Which is sad.
We got a lot of show ahead. Today we're doing a recap of season 5 of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. The season thus far, we're I think 5 to 6 episodes in, depending on how you count it. So yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun and a bit of deja vu for me and Skyblaze because we just got done doing this for another show. So I don't know.
That means we've had plenty of practice, so this will clearly be much better, right?
Yep.
Right.
I'm not putting my money on that statement.
But of course, there's procedure to follow, so we're gonna bring the show as always with Ask a Geek, and we've got some good questions here. First one here is from he calls himself Bladeser, and he asked, so Nintendo announced that they're partnering with Universal Studios theme parks to bring Nintendo attractions. What do all the gamers on the show think of this? I want a Mario Kart ride. That's what I want right now.
That would be awesome.
An idea whose time has come.
I want a Mario Kart ride. That's what I want. Also, I want them to. Do you remember in Disney World the Star Tours ride? I don't know if it's still there.
Yes, I do, and it is still there.
I think that concept would be awesome for a Star Fox attraction.
Oh man, I could so see that. I know a lot of people who would be into that in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
That got weird quickly.
Like pornographically or what?
Don't ask, don't tell.
Right. Good call.
What about you guys? What are some Nintendo-themed attractions that you'd like to see?
Okay, I'm not a gamer, but I think the greatest thing ever would be water slides that look like the pipes that you get sucked up and go down in Mario.
Oh, that would be so cool.
You know, it's so obvious. You don't even think about it. Then you hear it, and it's like, oh my god, that's perfect.
It would be the most amazing thing
and
ever.
it makes the noise when you start going down.
Yes.
Skyblaze, what about you? What's an attraction that you think would be interesting?
Oh man, for a Nintendo game, I don't know.
Well, I got one.
Go on.
This is speaking as someone who has been to both the American Universal locations and both the American Disney Park locations, and has worked for both Disney and Universal Studios at some point in the past.
Just feel free to carry on rubbing it in, John. I won't mind.
I rode the Jurassic Park ride so many times, but
Pillock.
No, personally, I want to get a rideable or explorable version of Bowser's Castle. That's always, the castle levels are always some of my favorites in any Mario games. They're usually my favorite tracks in any of the Mario Kart games. Bowser is probably my favorite Nintendo character out of the whole lot of them. And I just think they could do a lot of cool stuff with that, with like, you know, environmental effects and lava effects. You could go for like a fast ride or a slow one, just whatever you wanted to. I would be down for whatever they did.
You know, I had another one occur to me because I've been playing the original GameCube Animal Crossing for a while now, and I just realized that like for like the little kids, an Animal Crossing petting zoo.
Oh.
And have kind of like an animatronic KK Slider singing his versions of different pop songs.
That could be fun. With the pop song angle, I can see ways that Universal could make it very, very weird, but that could be fun.
Just thought of something. Anything to do with Legend of Zelda, as long as they have the music.
Yeah.
And I would just be happy.
There should be a room that you go to and all you do is break pots.
All the gift shops could be in the Hyrule Market.
Oh, that'd be cool. They kind of did something...
As long as they have the music from Ocarina of Time, I'll be quite fucking happy. I'll just sit there and listen to the music all day.
They kind of did something like that with the Harry Potter section. They have the Hogsmeade Village, and of course they have Hogwarts Castle and the ride in there and everything, which I haven't done yet, so Skyblaze, you don't have to feel jealous about that.
It's amazing.
Now I get to feel jealous instead. Yeah, they could do some really cool stuff with Zelda if they went along a similar line.
Let's open this up to listeners. What are some Nintendo-themed attractions you'd like to see? So sound off in the comments below in the feed, or send them to us in the email, and we'll read them off on the show in the next couple of weeks. Let's see. Our next question here. It's one for me, and it is from Jason, and he asks if I am excited for the upcoming Hitman movie. I gotta be honest. Here's the thing. I'm a huge fan of the Hitman series, but the problem is that Agent 47 as a character, he's not really a character. He's more of just an avatar for the player. He's not really meant to have a whole lot of character or personality. And the problem is that when you try and take that kind of character and put him in a film with, you know, working with a narrative where he has to have character and personality, it doesn't really work. It's like the last Hitman movie didn't really work. I don't really see this one doing all that well either. So, but who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised. Here's one here for all the Game of Thrones watchers in the show from Sarah, and she asks, who do you think is the most despicable character on the show?
Is it characters that are still on the show? Because a lot of terrible people have already died.
It's true.
They don't specify, so we'll open up blanket. Dead or alive, who is or was the most despicable person on the show for you?
Well, Joffrey is pretty terrible.
Yep.
I mean, that's the obvious. Like, he's the Justin Bieber of Game of Thrones. Like, just universally hated and for pretty much the same reasons. He's just terrible and for no reason. Like,
he's just a psychopath.
Yeah.
No redeeming qualities whatsoever, just 100% psychopath.
Although, he has a lot of good out-of-context quotes where he sounds like he could be a good person, but he's not. Joffrey, there is no reason for him to be so awful, because it's not genetic. The inbreeding thing did not make his brother or his sister terrible human beings, and he wasn't raised so terribly, because again, brother and sister are totally fine. So he really is just a psychopath. He's insane.
I'll always remember that the day the episode first aired, where he finally died, all George R.R. Martin tweeted was, "You're welcome."
which is like the greatest thing ever, because God, that fucker had it coming.
So it got to the point where even his mother was like, yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck!
Like she was still really upset that he died, but I think part of her was probably pretty relieved, too. Because he was a monster, yeah. After that, I think it's hard because it's so hard to top just the awfulness of Joffrey, but Peter Baelish is a really awful human being.
Yep.
He's so sneaky and conniving, which is most other characters, except he has this sort of added... The way that he's enamored with Sansa is really, really gross.
Yeah.
Because he's so much older, and he was in love with her mom, and you just sort of watch him and go, ew, 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 ew. Like, that's all I think when he's on screen is, shut up, you weasel, don't kiss that young girl.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you need to go and have a bath immediately after you've seen him on the screen.
You're like, can every character who has to talk to Baelish please get an adult supervision on here, because I don't feel comfortable with Peter Baelish talking to other people without adult supervision.
Even other adults.
He's so terrible. After that, most of the other characters you really don't like are dead or just aren't in the show right now. The Mountain will return.
Oh god.
Probably.
Speaking of terrible, terrible people, also Walder Frey.
Oh God! Why isn't he dead yet? He's gonna get his.
I don't fucking. They must get his comeuppance at some point, surely.
Yeah, I forgot about Frey because he's not in it right now. But hopefully he'll just get fucking murdered and maybe not even in his sleep. I can't decide how I want Walder Frey to die, but I definitely want him to die. And the same thing with Cersei. Like, I just hate her so much. She has pretty much no redeeming qualities other than that she really loves her children, but unfortunately she loves her children in a way that pretty much harms her children and doesn't do anybody any good. So I really can't wait for her to die. Terribly.
Okay then.
So if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, that means nothing to you, but just know that Joffrey is the most terrible.
Yep.
Last question here, and this one is for Skyblaze from Mary, and she asked, with the abysmal failure of Sonic Boom, what do you think could be done to save the Sonic franchise?
Oh boy.
Oh dear. Basically, they need to kind of stick with an idea instead of bouncing all over the bloody place and kind of going this gimmick and that gimmick and this other gimmick and yeah. If they'd actually just like picked up either Sonic Colors or Sonic Generations and say, let's develop this. This is where we're going with the franchise. This is what we're going to be focusing our attention on. You know what? Sonic Generations is a fucking amazing game. I enjoyed it to pieces. Do that. More of that, please. Or more of Sonic Colors. That was fun. I quite liked the stuff in that. You know, the kind of picking up the alien powers and using those to get past obstacles. That was great. Or the Sonic Generations thing. You're hopping between 2D and 3D. That was fun too. For the love of God, Sega, just pick a thing and stick with it for 5 fucking minutes. You're like children with ADHD off their Ritalin.
You know, I think you may have hit the nail on the head right there, Skyblaze, with Sega not being able to focus on the series. Maybe the way to save Sonic is to take him away from Sega.
From what I've heard from friends of mine in the industry, a lot of this kind of comes from kind of up above in Sega. Yeah, we need to do this, we need to do that, and so a Sonic team is like, okay. And then is when they hand it to other development teams like Big Red Button, who had never developed a game before in their lives, which is where we get Rise of Lyric.
Mm-hmm.
If they just handed it back to Dimps, who did Sonic Colors, we might have got a decent game. But no. Keep it with a team who knows what the fuck they're doing. That'd be a good start. And then, you know, pick a direction and stick with it.
Okay. And Mary's got one last question here for me, which is, do you think that Konami is about to go under?
God.
You know what? At this point, they almost brought it on themselves. They pissed off Kojima, who was their one big name right now. They've treated a lot of their IPs horribly in the last couple years. Outside of Metal Gear Solid 5, Silent Hill was the only one of their major IPs that I could think of that they were doing something with. And they managed to piss away that goodwill too. We haven't seen a new Castlevania. Silent Hills was, you know, we were all looking forward to, and then that got canceled, so we're probably not going to get that. And it's pretty clear that the next Metal Gear game is going to be Kojima's last, so it's like, you know, they've almost become the new Capcom. It's like, what the hell are you doing beating up all of your big name IPs? No, stop. But my rant on Capcom, I could go on at length about them, so I'll save that for another day. But anyway, that's all the Ask a Geek questions that we have for this week. As always, you can send them to us through the email at billysmith@channelawesome.com, or you can just send them to us through the email. We've also got threads going up on the Facebook. We're going to start that up again, so keep an eye out for those. So with that, we're going to jump right into our headlines, starting this week with John. So John, take it away.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Multiverse Headlines. I have a few news stories here, but one of them is extremely large. Finally, we know the identity of the new Thor, or as some people have been calling her, the female Thor. There was a lot of theories going around when it first announced, and last month we actually had a big tease that actually turned out to be a big misdirection. And it turns out, this is a spoiler warning if you've not read the book just yet, but of course if you've been on the internet, it's been plastered on every news site that you can ever find. It's going to be Jane Foster. Yes, of course, Dr. Jane Foster. It all sort of makes sense now, and actually is a more logical conclusion to all of this. Some have sort of, though, complained, though, because Jane Foster is suffering from cancer, and that these magical powers are actually hurting her as she uses them. Which is very odd, because when she got cancer, she was asked if she could be healed by it, and then refused. So, I'm not really sure where they're going to go with the book just yet. The book is going to be on a pause while Secret Wars is happening, so we'll have to wait till after Secret Wars to continue this storyline. In other news, television news, CBS has ordered a complete series for Supergirl. They must have enjoyed the pilot enough to order at least one season of it, and we get to see it on Tuesday nights, running opposite of, ironically, Gotham on Fox. With so many comic book shows coming to the head nowadays, it's really no surprise that they're going to start meeting each other in time slots. Well, of course, I didn't realize you would meet two DC shows in the same time slot, but hey, they are on two different networks, you never really know. In my last story, and this is a bit of a confusing one, Archie Comics, yes Archie, one of the main comics in the United States, has launched a Kickstarter. Yes, a Kickstarter. A $3,500,000 Kickstarter to get its more relaunched books into stores. They're citing that there's some of the problems with their Walmart and Target branches where they'll be showing some of the old digest stuff, not the actual new items that are going to be placed in their new relaunch series. What they want to do is they want to get some of this money so they can have all these brand new series, like a Jughead series, another Betty and Veronica written and drawn by Adam Hughes, and also Dan Parent, who's been writing with Life of Kevin to, well, continue writing Life of Kevin. This news is very strange because this is the first major publisher to do a Kickstarter campaign like this for their series. And it's getting sort of mixed reviews online. Not the idea of a Kickstarter or helping to fund anything, it's just that you never expected a major publisher to do so unless that said major publisher might be in maybe some sort of dire straits, not letting on right now. Of course, we never would have guessed that Archie would reboot its entire franchise and then end the classic one in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot of major concerns about this, and there's a lot of questions I really don't know the answers to. I'm trying to get the feel for it right now, and it's unfortunately kind of hard. Mark Waid, who is one of the heads of these reboots, seems to say everything's fine, but then you have other retailers not liking the idea that they're going to be sort of shut out in this Kickstarter campaign, and when they were supporting the books anyway, and I feel jaded because of it. Hopefully we'll see how this turns out. The Kickstarter is moving along. It's moving along maybe a little bit slower than they wanted to, but I'm pretty sure it'll probably hit close to its goal by the end of the month. We'll have to wait and see. If we do, that means we have a new series of Archie comics coming up at the comic book stores. Well, that's it for me this week. I'm sorry I couldn't help you guys out a little bit more on the discussion, but things kind of came up. But that's all, so back to you guys.
Why, thank you. Viz Media has announced that it will publish 3 of the Naruto epilogue novels. The first, Naruto Kakashi's story, will be published in November and follows the adventures of Kakashi after the 4th Great Ninja War and prior to his appointment as Hokage. Naruto Shikamaru's story will hit shelves next February, with Sakura's story following in May. No word yet on licensing the other 3 planned epilogue novels, Konoha's story, Gaara's story, and Akatsuki's story. Viz has also confirmed they'll be publishing the Uzumaki Naruto illustration softcover art book. The book, not quite 100 pages, is full color with images and commentary by Kishimoto, and also contains a double-sided poster and sticker sheet. It's really amazing that after the Naruto manga finally ended, the franchise just keeps going anyway. With an epilogue movie over the winter, a new movie still to come, a manga miniseries, and the 6 novels, you gotta wonder if Kishimoto just doesn't have any ideas for anything after this, or if he just wants to give you so much closure that no one will be able to write fanfiction about his stuff ever again. Since news outlets simply will not stop reporting on the Ghost in the Shell live-action film, I guess I'll share a bit of news. Variety's reporting that Paramount Pictures will be co-producing and co-financing the movie alongside DreamWorks. This is actually kind of interesting because most of the licensed live-action adaptations of anime properties kind of grind to a halt at the scripting stage. Some are just too expensive, some are too controversial with the fans, and some just aren't good at all. Very few actually make it to the funding stage, with Paramount bankrolling half of the production and an established release date, March 31st, 2017. It's time to face the music. Guys, this movie is happening. I always expect these productions to just kind of fall apart, but Ghost in the Shell hasn't. In fact, I don't think it's going to at all. Now, whether or not it'll live up to the sterling reputation of other anime-based movies that have come before it, by which I mean fail miserably, is anyone's guess. An anime/manga based film that's not enjoying such progress is Alexandre Aja's planned adaptation of Terusawa Buichi's Cobra. Back in 2011, the Cobra film was budgeted at $100 million and set to release the summer of 2013. And then, of course, nothing ever came of it. In a recent interview with Japanese entertainment news website Crank, Aja explained that one of the main hangups is casting Cobra himself. Still, the Horns and Hills Have Eyes director assures fans that the staff are definitely making progress, quote unquote. So my money's on another 2 years of stalled production. And finally, for you Japanese music fans, the idol group Baby Metal has kicked off their world tour. By the time this episode airs, they'll have already played in Mexico City, Toronto, Chicago, and probably Columbus as well. But over the coming weeks, they will be in Germany, France, Switzerland, Italy, and Austria before heading back to Japan. They'll be in Europe again in August for the Reading and Leeds festivals. If you've never heard of Baby Metal, stop what you're doing and go to YouTube and search Gimme Chocolate. You'll either thank me or kill me later. And that's all I've got going on in the anime and manga world. Over to you, Dr. Gonzo.
And that's all the news that's fit to hear this week. We're going to take a quick music break. We come back. My Little Pony Season 5. We recap the first 5 or 6 episodes of the season and see if the show is still going strong or if it's kind of petering out. So stay tuned. We got a lot of fun stuff ahead.
Outside's the perfect day, wonderful and wild. In a dream I'm longing for your gaze. I would let it burn me away. What is this? This breathless breathing? What are these sweet stars high above the world that's speeding by? You and I so far away.
All right, and we are back. And longtime listeners know that we're all big bronies. We're all big My Little Pony fans. And we are now several weeks into Season 5. And we decided to go ahead and do a little recap on the season thus far. And see if the show is still going strong or if it's kind of starting to run out of ideas. So, general thoughts on this season. What do you guys think of it so far?
I think it's a real return to form. There's a very strong narrative element, a kind of strong overarching thing as well, which has been downplayed a lot previously, but they're really going for it this time.
Yeah, the theme of cutie marks and the talents they represent seems to be kind of an overarching theme this season. We've had a lot of episodes dealing with them, especially the awesome opening two-parter, the cutie map.
That was kind of a fascinating way to kick the season off with this weird little kind of Orwellian town.
I know, right?
That first two-parter, the only way that I can succinctly describe it is, imagine if Kurt Vonnegut and George Orwell had a baby, and Orwell did meth right up until the birth. And that's pretty much how you come up with the cutie map. You had themes of Harrison Bergeron, 1984, Animal Farm, all presented in a way that kids can understand and get. Not completely realize how horrible these ideas really are.
Yeah, you know, actually that's a good point. I didn't look at it from that perspective. I didn't think about the fact that, you know, this may be a kid's first introduction, essentially, to the dangers of, like, totalitarianism or just, you know, government control and censorship, you know, things that are still going on in many places around the world today. That's a very good way to introduce younger people to that idea.
Well, for the people who don't know what the hell I'm talking about, Skyblaze, why don't you give us a brief rundown of that opening two-parter?
In the Castle of Friendship in Ponyville, all of Twilight's friends kind of go and sit on their magnificent crystal thrones, and their cutie marks light up on their friends behind them, and this map appears, which seems to depict all of Equestria. Their cutie marks kind of then start buzzing in this weird kind of telephone sort of way, and their cutie mark symbols appear at a point on the map. So they go, okay, that's a bit weird, but let's look into it. So they go to this area of Equestria and find this very small village with a few people in it. Pinkie Pie kind of notes that their smiles look a bit off, and they've all got the same cutie mark. They kind of wander into town and introduced to the town's mayor, whose name is Starlight Glimmer, who says that they're all very, very welcome and tries to get to know them a bit, but she seems a bit creepy. The main six are trying to figure out what the hell's going on, because everyone's acting kind of off. And they meet a few ponies who apparently want their cutie marks back, which kind of makes things kind of go, okay, this is a bit weird. Starlight Glimmer agrees to take them to where all the cutie marks are being stored, which is a place called the Cutie Mark Vault. They quickly realise that it's, in the words of Admiral Akbar, it's a trap, and Starlight Glimmer uses this apparent artifact called the Staff of Sameness, which removes their cutie marks. Gets creepier from there, because as we start the next episode, all the main six are locked in a room, having propaganda piped to them through an intercom, and gradually kind of losing themselves. None of their talents work, the Earth Pony strength magic doesn't work, Twilight's magic doesn't work, Fluttershy can't communicate with birds, and they start becoming more and more...
mechanical.
Yeah, it gets kind of like, no, this is getting creepy, which is where I kind of said, yeah, they're locked in room 101. Good!
And the whole thing falls apart when it's eventually discovered that Starlight Glimmer herself still has her cutie mark. She just covers it up with makeup, and we're all kind of like, oh, Napoleon's been climbing the barn again, I see. 1984 joke. Haha, I read a book once.
You know, that...
All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
Yeah.
It's literally what I said to my husband while I was watching it.
It vaguely reminded me of how Hitler had standards for how far back in the family line you could have a Jewish relative and still be considered, you know, German, still be considered not Jewish, when he himself failed his own standards for that. Or if you want to use the fictional example, Voldemort and Harry Potter rounding up all the half-bloods when he himself is a half-blood. It's this recurring theme both in fiction and in actual history, where these brutally oppressive dictators and would-be dictators never hold themselves to the same standards that they force everyone else to conform to.
What made Starlight Glimmer so frightening to me as a villain is she's not a supernatural being. She's, for all intents and purposes, a perfectly normal pony. She could be anyone. She could be anybody. Anybody with good intentions, taking them to an illogical extreme, could become this kind of totalitarian dictator. And the thing that really kind of surprised me at the end is we don't see her get her comeuppance. She's the first villain who actually gets away.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's also not a defeat equals friendship thing, because Twilight does the friendship speech to her, and Starlight Glimmer tells her to bugger off, basically. It was one of those you can't fix everything ones, and as I said, a lot of the episode was damn creepy. I remember turning to my husband and saying, like, wow, we have reached peak creepy. Are we sure this show is for kids?
Do you think that by having her escape at the end, they may be setting up a return for her before the season's over?
Almost certainly.
She outright said she had designs on Canterlot, so I'm calling it right now. Season finale, she's going to be back, and she's going to have somehow snatched the cutie marks of the princesses.
That'd be a very interesting finale.
But it wasn't the last time that a really heavy theme was introduced in this season. We had Tanks for the Memories, which pretty much deal with death and the various stages of grief, and I'm just like, wow, this is
They went there.
yeah.
I mean, you could read it as death. I mean, any lengthy parting from a loved one, honestly, because, you know, you go through that sort of thing when someone dies or when they're going overseas, say if they're in the military or something like that. There's a lot of different situations other than just death, I think, that this storyline could relate to. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It was the stages of grief being demonstrated. One nice little touch that I liked about this episode that I thought was an excellent example of character growth is that Fluttershy was the first one to just tell her outright, this is happening, you're going to have to deal with it. Because a few seasons ago, Fluttershy wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, turns out that this season's Fluttershy has no time for your bullshit.
Well, I like to think it was the lesson that she learned with the, what were they?
The
breezes.
Breezes,
Yeah.
thank you. I think it's an extension of the lesson that she learned from that, and really a lesson that she's kind of sort of been attempting to learn and internalize practically since the show started. And that's that being kind is one thing, but you also can't let being kind turn you into a doormat. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone you care about is
give them a bath across the bonds.
Yeah, be brutally honest and be like, look, sorry, I can't coddle you through this one, you're gonna have to deal with it.
There does come a time when coddling someone actually does more harm than good, and I think that's where she'd gone, and Fluttershy figured out, that's not good for you, let me fix that for you.
So we've established that the writing has definitely taken a step up, but you know what? So has the animation, and especially the music
Oh yeah.
has taken a step up. The song I'll Fly from Tanks of the Memories is almost like a note-for-note send-up of Defying Gravity from Wicked. If you listen to those two songs side by side, they're almost identical. I was like, wow, that's really cool. Why is Daniel Ingram writing songs for a kid's show? He should be on Broadway.
It's not the first time he's done an homage to a Broadway song. Art of the Dress was an homage to a Stephen Sondheim song from, I can't remember what the original is, but it was an homage to Sondheim.
So one of the things that I sort of hinted at the start of this discussion was the overarching theme of cutie marks, because we've seen several episodes dealing with cutie marks and the implications surrounding them. Of course, there's the open two-parter, and then there was Bloom and Gloom, which featured Princess Luna going for the hat trick. She's now helped all three of the cutie mark crusaders with some kind of fear.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that either. Man, I'm just not thinking very much about this series.
There was also the most recent episode, Appaloosa's Most Wanted, which dealt with, not a pony, a horse. We see the first actual horse on My Little Pony.
Not the first.
Okay, who's the first horse?
Do you remember the episode where they had the visitors from another country, the foreign dignitaries?
They were the Saddle Arabians.
Yes, the Saddle Arabians, that was it. Those were horses.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I stand corrected then. So I guess my question is, do you think that this is a theme that's going to carry out through the whole series of cutie marks and the talents around them? Or are we just kind of seeing a pattern where there really isn't one?
Oh, I don't think we're seeing things here. I mean, they set the tone right in the first episode, and for it to just keep coming up over and over again, I mean, it's not like cutie marks weren't a theme in the rest of the series. It's not like they weren't something that weren't talked about, especially by a certain trio of characters. but this time they're really, really, really placing a heavy emphasis on them. What I'm hoping this is pointing towards is that by the end of this season, the CMC will finally get theirs.
Yeah, I'm thinking that at least one of them, if not all of them, will get theirs by the end of the season. Because we've seen already that the showrunners are quite willing to change the status quo.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a considerably smaller change than Twilight growing wings.
Little bit.
What do you think each of the Cutie Mark Crusaders' special talent is going to be? I'm calling it right now. If Sweetie Belle isn't a singer, I'm going to eat my hat.
Sweetie Belle better be a singer.
Well, singer or musician of some description.
Yeah.
I think Apple Bloom's going to be a carpenter.
I could see that.
Scootaloo's a tricky one.
Well, Scootaloo is obviously going to be some sort of like BMX extreme sports pony.
An equestrian Evel Knievel.
Equestrian. Yeah, that's it. She's gonna be a daredevil pony.
That really kind of fits her sort of inability to fly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to be disappointed if they actually have her learn to fly, because I think that the way that she's been able to compensate for that so far has actually been really cool.
I don't think they're ever going to have her fly, personally. And I agree with you. I think it would be kind of a cop-out, because not only would it diminish from her scooter tricks and all the athleticism that they've shown there, but also, in a way, the fact that she can't fly is, I don't want to say it's an exact analog, but it's kind of like representation of disability, which is something you really don't see in cartoons very often unless it's really, really heavy-handedly played up. She's only had one episode where her inability to fly has been kind of like the focus, and it was pretty clear that she would prefer to be able to fly, but it's not something that makes her life miserable. It's not something she's fixated on, the way all three of them are fixated on their cutie marks, and that is something you don't see with disabled characters in a whole lot of media. Usually, they are depicted as missing something or being constantly aware of this, which is just not the reality of it.
So, of course, we're only like a quarter of the way through this season, so what are some storylines that you're excited to see coming up, or what are some things that you'd like to see explored as this season goes on? I tell you, I'm really looking forward to the next episode where Discord brings the Smooze to the Grand Galloping Gala.
Smooze!
That's the next one?
Yep.
Yes!
Oh, this is the one I've been waiting for since they announced it.
They've got the fucking Eldritch Abomination from the first one.
Not only that, but it's wearing a top hat and a bow tie.
I know, right? All of the G1 fans I know have been going absolutely bonkers. It's brilliant.
It's fantastic because it's basically Discord walking in the door and being like, "Hi everyone, I brought Cthulhu."
Yep. As you do. As you do.
It's so perfect.
The next thing I'm excited about is the 100th episode, one that's focused on the background ponies, particularly Doctor Who's, because Doctor Who's, I'm sorry. Because I am still kind of praying nightly to my gods that they actually get either David Tennant or Matt Smith to voice him, because that would be fucking hilarious.
Imagine if they got Tom Baker instead.
Then I would die. I would just flat die.
That'd be it. There'd be no more mountains to climb.
Yep.
I really want to see more Princess Luna. I want to see her outside the context of helping someone else in a dream. I want to see her being back in equestrian society and adjusting to modern Equestria. We kind of got that in the Nightmare Night episode, but I really want to see another episode that's really focused directly on her, because I feel like she doesn't get nearly as much screen time as she should.
I can agree with that. I mean, she's my personal pet favorite, and I personally would like to see another Nightmare Night episode because, you know, me.
Because you're a massive goth.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's not like I can kind of say that I'm not, because, yeah, that episode was brilliant, and it's probably one of my favorite episodes.
Her cloak turned into bats and flew
I know!
away.
It made me so happy! Also, the bat ponies and the incredible gothic cart that she's got, like, damn.
I would love to see them actually go into who those guys are and where they came from, because we only saw bat ponies the one time. We have no idea what the deal is. Is there like a whole society of bat ponies? What's up with that? I'd love to see that explored. As for things I think they actually might do this season, I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage because I haven't actually looked into what the other upcoming episodes are. The only upcoming episode that I knew about was the one with the Smooths. But I'll say that, okay, you know what? They're doing more and more G1 callbacks now with, they had Tyrek, they have the Smooths and stuff like that. The one thing I would love to see them do, and do it as cracked out and ridiculous as they possibly could, is the Sea Ponies.
Okay.
I want to see them, and not only that, I want the Shooby-Doo musical number.
What?
And I want it to be a big-lipped alligator moment. As soon as it's over, I want all the other ponies to look at each other and just basically ask themselves, what the fuck just happened?
I'm pretty sure at that point, the fandom would just abandon the show.
But some people actually, some G1 fans genuinely think that the Sea Ponies were the Junk the Shark moment from the original. So...
But they were in the first movie. That's jumping the shark really early.
I know. Anytime they appear, the series jumps the shark. Sometimes it manages to jump back again.
So see, that's the reason I want to see them. I have this perverse streak where I like to see things occasionally in a show that specifically make the fans scream and mad because it makes me giggle. So that's half the reason I want them.
So this is just you wearing your troll face, then, is what we're saying.
Some people just want to see the world burn.
Okay, and that's the point where we need to start wrapping up because we are out of time for this week. So yeah, My Little Pony season 5 definitely showing that the series still has a lot of staying power to it. They're still bringing their A game. Definitely looking forward to seeing what the rest of the season has in store. And the previous seasons pretty much hit all of the beats that we could have predicted. This is the first one, I think, where we don't really know what's in store. Everything before that had kind of a natural progression, First season, Twilight goes to Ponyville. Second season, Twilight learning more lessons of friendship. Third one, she becomes a princess. Fourth one, she gets a castle. We've really pretty much reached the end of the list of things that we can actually predict. So now it's, all right, well, let's see what they can do. Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing what comes up next. But that's all the time that we have for Nerd to the Third Power this week. Thank you as always for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Our discussion topic is scientific advances that we didn't think we would see in our lifetime. So we're kind of going a bit off the beaten path here. So yeah, that's going to be fun. We'll see you next week. Thank you again for tuning in. As always, I'm Dr. Gonzo.
I'm Skyblaze.
And that leaves me as John.
See you next week. Taka, play us out.